Josephine County, southwestern Oregon, the pros and cons. Well, if you're like me, you like to get the cons out of the way first, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start with the negatives, and then the second half of the video, I'll focus more on the positives. First off, the cons, challenges of living in Josephine County, Oregon. The top is there's just not a lot to do. There's not a lot of nightlife. So if nightlife is something that you're after or something that's important to you, you're not gonna find it around here. You will find in Josephine County, outside of Grants Pass and even in Grants Pass, everything shuts down around 7 or 8 o'clock. There's not a lot really going on in that regard. There was maybe a little bit more before COVID, and then once COVID hit, with our restructuring and the nightlife change around southwestern Oregon, we've really seen a reduction still of nightlife opportunities. Same thing with entertainment. There's no professional sports team. There's some concert venues. You can catch the symphony. There's an opera occasionally. There are some concerts sometimes at the Rogue Theater in Grants Pass. But other than that, you're not going to find a lot of wild entertainment options. Every once in a while, there will be a performance out in Williams, or there's a festival or some kind of performance out in Wolf Creek at the old tavern. That kind of thing might happen. But by and large, the experience will be there's not a lot of nightlife or entertainment. So if that's something you're looking for, Josephine County is not going to be for you. Outside of the city of Grants Pass, there's no water or sewer services. So everything is well and septic. That can be a real con because of the cost. Maybe you're thinking about building. You're thinking, I'll find some cool land out in Josephine County and I'll build. Well, you're going to need a well. And you're gonna need a septic, and those are both expensive. They take a long time for permits. There's a big backlog in terms of getting some of those supplies, and it can be very expensive. So that's another con in terms of Josephine County. That's just a big challenge. Another big challenge is that not all areas of Josephine County have good internet. So internet access is becoming more and more important for people's work and school for kids. Frequently, or even for streaming. You know, if you want to stream and watch Netflix or Amazon or whatever you want to watch, you're going to find that internet in some parts of Josephine County is a challenge. That's changing a little bit with Starlink and HughesNet, and there are some providers who are really stepping their game up. But still, in some parts of Josephine County, internet is a big challenge. That's a major con if that's something that's important to you. Additionally, there are fewer services out in the county. There's no police department. Josephine County, all of Josephine County, which is rather geographically large and very diverse. Not like you can just get from one spot to another. There's not a big highway system working in concentric rings or that kind of thing. There's one sheriff and his deputies serve the entire county. So that can be a challenge at times. In addition, fire protection services. So you have to pay, I pay about $50 a month for fire protection services. And what that means is that Rural Metro, I subscribe to their service. And so if I have a fire incident, they will come out and they will serve our property. So that's another bit of a challenge. It's a trade-off, right? Because you may not have an extra $50 a month to contribute towards that. Well, that's going to put your residents in danger in that regard. That is a con, for sure. That's something for you to really think about. When you look at the fire risk map, you're going to notice a lot of Josephine County is in the moderate or high range. Well, that's because there's a lot of timber in the area, some BLM lands and some federally owned lands that are not frequently groomed and taken care of. So there is a higher fire risk for sure in parts of Josephine County. Now, you'll notice in the map, Grants Pass and places near Grants Pass is lower. And you'll also notice that parts of Curry County, which is kind of wild to think about it, but over by the ocean, there's an even higher fire risk throughout parts of that. So that's something for you really to think about in terms of some of the challenges of living in Josephine County. It's not all just wine and roses. Like I'm sure the folks that live in the Ozarks or that live out in Yellowstone experience the same thing, right? Those programs have beautiful sceneries and obviously are awesome places, but there's some major drawbacks. Some pros. Woohoo! Finally some good news. Number one, Josephine County has lower taxes than most of the state. And that's because the voters consistently say we don't want new taxes. That's just part of the game. Now, there is a trade-off, right? Because like I talked about in the first part, the fire services and the sheriff services and the water and the sewer, like those are all not part of the taxes. Well, that's how we keep the taxes down, is there are fewer services. So that's the trade-off in that regard. So that's a real pro though. Taxes are much lower here than Jackson County and most of the state of Oregon. There's incredible outdoor recreation. That's another major pro. Fishing, hiking, biking, mountain biking, anything you're looking for in that regard, Josephine County has it. And especially whitewater rafting. The Wild and Scenic Road starts in Josephine County, ends in Curry County, but it's an incredible section of whitewater rafting that just can't be described, really. I mean, it's so incredible. So you can get an inflatable kayak and you can float some of the recreational sections of the river. And it's really wonderful. It's a huge, huge pro of living in the area, as well as the Illinois River and the Applegate River. All three of those rivers are really cool in Josephine County, offer all kinds of recreation, and are just an incredible thing. You also find in Josephine County wonderful farming and gardening, and just the climate is so conducive to small vegetable gardening. Or maybe you want to raise a couple hundred head of sheep or cattle. You can do that in Josephine County. You can find big sections of land out near Wolf Creek or Sunny Valley, and you can really take advantage of that, and you can grow your own food. How incredible is that? The Josephine County's climate is great for that. There may be some challenges in the summertime as we go through droughts occasionally, and we are in one still currently, but you're going to notice that with wells and water rights and other things like that, if you're into gardening, you can find a great piece of land that you can utilize, and you can feed others, or you can just take care of your own family almost completely off the grid, which is an option in Josephine County. You could totally live off the grid if you wanted to. Another great plus are the people in Josephine County are awesome. You're gonna find a good mix of long-term residents and people who have moved here recently, but they're all kind of looking for the same thing outside of the city, looking for some privacy, looking for some quiet, looking for some solitude, looking to stretch out some space, and they're gonna wanna take care of one another because it really is a community. You're gonna find strong community throughout Josephine County. It's really one of the special parts about it. The last major pro, it's got to be the weather. If you want a place with all 4 seasons, Josephine County is just hard to beat. You even get a bonus season, 5th season, which we call smoke season, which happens almost every year in August and July. But I got to tell you, it's balanced out by the beautiful weather that we get the rest of the year. Spring in Josephine County is incredible, as well as the fall in Josephine County is just really hard to beat. And I've been all over the country, and I'm telling you, this is an amazing place with the weather in the fall and in the spring. Josephine County is really worth checking out. If you have any questions, shoot me a text, give me a call. There's lots of pros and cons. There's a lot of things to consider, but I highly recommend you check it out. Josephine County Pro from me.